To say thank you so much to your service, to all the veterans that are here. And also point out that it was interesting that a lot of the people that were for the data centers had some kind of conflict of interest. And interestingly, they are, most of them are not here, they have left. Thanks for your presentation. The information was interesting, so thank you for that. I'm sure a lot of us appreciated that. The Electric Power Research Institute report predicts data center technical difficulties. Electric Power Research Institute report predicts data centers' electricity demand could grow as little as 29% or as much as 166% by 2030, depending on the demand. The projected growth could significantly change domestic electricity markets. The increased demand from data centers could lead to higher prices for electricity and greater overall electricity usage, as well as affect grid reliability, such as prevalence of blackouts and greenhouse gas emissions from electricity sector. As electricity demand spikes, will this impact the average consumer? It already has. This year, we have seen electric bill increase due to electricity demand from data centers. The direct reason for these bill increases is surge in the cost for reserve electricity, also called capacity. Capacity prices are set by the grid operators during auctions, predicting how much electricity we will need in the future. Consumers are responsible for paying for this future demand. The capacity forecast is overestimated, which includes potential data centers, even if there's little chance of them being built. So consumers end up paying for phantom data centers. There are two ways that data centers can rise rates for everyone. First, the utility is building new infrastructure to provide energy to data centers and spreads those costs to all ratepayers. Second, certain energy prices that the utility pays are set based on the demand. As that goes up, the prices go up. Rates are also based on distribution system. Residential ratepayers end up having highest rates due to the distribution. An industrial consumer uses far more energy than a household, but needs less local infrastructure than residential ratepayers, so industrial rates ends up being lower. Additionally, established rates for residential and commercial are not the same ones that centers are paying. They sign contracts with utility that provides a special deal, and those contracts are confidential to the public, as states legislators want to attract as many data centers as possible. The special rates are set in agreements that lock in long-term prices and shield data centers from risks faced by the other ratepayers. These contracts allow service under conditions and terms not otherwise available to anyone else. The special contracts are transferring data centers costs to other consumers. I know you mentioned that may not happen in Illinois, but why would that make Illinois attractive, or at least our community, to data centers if they would have to be paying higher prices for electricity? The Associated Press reported that the independent market monitor showed that 70% or 9.3 billion of this year's increase in electricity cost was the result of data centers' demand driving prices for residential ratepayers. The Oregon Citizens Utility Board says there's clear evidence that costs to serve data centers are being spread across all consumers at a time when some electric bills are up 50% over the past 4 years, and utilities are disconnecting more people than ever because they can't afford it. As electric bills are going up around the country due to an outdated practice that requires consumers to pay billions for tech giants' grid connections, reports show up to $4.3 billion in costs in 2024, just 7 states: Illinois, Maryland, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and West Virginia. The data centers have electricity demands of small cities. These are costs for directly connecting the data centers, often including new transformers and gear on the property of data centers. Many of these individual connections cost between $25 million to $100 million. Those servers require a great deal of energy and produce a great deal of heat. Without adequate cooling, the servers can overheat, fail, or even catch fire. Water is used in the cooling system as it is cheaper than air conditioning. Cheaper, but sucks up millions of gallons of water per day. Just one data center can consume as much as 5 million gallons of water daily, as much as a town of 10 to 50,000 people. According to Virginia Tech study, data centers rank among the top 10 water-consuming commercial industries in the United States. Water is used on site for preventing servers from overheating. This water is drawn from groundwater aquifers or surface water sources, lake, rivers, or streams. Direct cooling via this method represents about 25% of data centers' water footprint. A minority of data centers use air or other liquid cooling system to dissipate the heat. Water is used on-site and off-site in the generation of electricity that feeds the water center. Thermoelectric power generation is water-intensive, representing nationwide 40% of all water withdrawals. A data center that relies on air cooling system instead of evaporative cooling has less on-site water consumption, but more off-site water consumption. This is because an air cooling design draws more electricity from the grid, which then uses more water, both to make steam to drive turbines as well as for cooling purposes. Additionally, water is also used off-site to cool the machinery used in generation of electricity needed to bring water to the data center and then treat the wastewater. I know you mentioned we might not have that, but just stating facts. Together, it represents about 75% of water footprint of data centers. With the trend toward hyperscale data centers, which rely more deeply on water-intensive cooling, these proportions may change. Large data centers need to be outfitted with massive set of backup generators in case of electric grid goes down. These are typically fueled by diesel or natural gas, both of which emit remarkable amounts of air pollutants to help drive the demand for more pipelines, power plants, and drilling, further adding to the water footprint of data centers and also creating local sources of air pollution. As increased planetary temperatures melt glaciers and dry up surface lakes and streams, global dependency on groundwater to meet basic human needs is deepening. But this groundwater is also disappearing via uninhabited pump and extraction. Even without data centers cooling requirements adding to the problem, the disappearance of groundwater is considering a critical emerging threat to humanity, contributing to unprecedented continental drying and shrinking freshwater availability for drinking water and agriculture. Water is a finite resource and a human right. Clean, safe water is a human necessity, not just for health of an individual, but for the well-being of an entire ecosystem on which the health of people depends on. Our lives depend on the collective protection of water. As we hear stories around the country, residents of Bessemer, Alabama, for example, learned that hyperscale data center would require a 10% rise in electricity generated by Alabama Power statewide, as well as 2 million gallons of water per day, amounting to 1/3 of local utilities' total water supply. In Mansfield, Georgia, a 50-acre Meta data center spiked energy consumption by 34% and water usage by 200 million gallons per year. Nearby residents suffered severe contamination of their wells and low water pressure, as well as intense 24/7 noise pollution and light pollution from security lighting. Allowing projects like this to go further threatens drinking water long into the future. On February 27, 2025, the Illinois state introduced Senate Bill 2027, a legislative proposal aimed at enhancing state's economic landscape by providing tax exemptions for data centers. This measure allows for an exemption for sales tax for data centers with a $250 million investment in Illinois. It also creates 20% income tax credit against wages if the investment by the data center is an underserved area. The area where Project Cardinal and Project Steel are proposed to be built would be located in underserved area. For clarity, tax credit refers to an amount of money that taxpayers can subtract directly from taxes they owe. Tax credits are more favorable than tax deductions because they reduce the tax due, not just the amount of taxable income. Additional incentives available: sales and use of tax exemptions from state and local sales and use taxes on a wide range of tangible personal property essential to operations, including servers, computers and data storage devices, electrical and climate control system, network and telecommunications infrastructure, software and building materials physically incorporated into the facility. The Economic Development for Growing Economy program provides an annual corporate tax credit for qualifying data centers and other businesses in Illinois that support job creation and capital investment that will improve the standard of living for all Illinois residents, supposedly. These tax exemptions certificates are valid for up to 20 years. One example of these tax incentives CNBC found is Microsoft Data Center in Illinois received more than $38 million in data center sales tax exemptions, but just created 20 permanent jobs. It's interesting how Illinois is welcoming data centers. According to Illinois Department of Natural Resources, the state of Illinois has set a goal to reduce carbon emission to 0 by 2050. The IDNR action plan number 1 mentions carbon dioxide emissions come from building energy use, 72%, internal transportation. It will affect you and your families. So often we see FDA recalls or black label warnings of prescription drugs after 10, 20 years causing cancer. We are seeing short-term side effects of these data centers, but we have no idea what kind of long-term effects they will have on us and our environment. Although Bernie has mentioned health concerns from the doctors in his previous speech, which thank you so much for that. As the data centers dry up our wells and the other surrounding water bodies, what will we drink? As the carbon footprint generated shifts our climate, potentially causing drought, will we have enough water to quench our thirst? We have no idea the impact this could have on us. We are heading towards AI takeover and human enslavement or even extinction. Yorkville residents are not the only ones seeing negative impact of the data centers. There are many areas trying to open the eyes of the public officials. $75 billion worth of data center projects have been halted. Why are these people fighting this so-called progress? What are they and us seeing that you are not? On May 10, 2023, a curious event occurred in Yorkville. Per WSPY News, after 25 years of public service, King John was crowned for his second term as Yorkville mayor. The article mentioned that maybe King John will bring a White Castle to Yorkville. I do hope that White Castle is not the data center. Here in the United States, we do not stand for monarchy. We are not looking for royals who parade around and demand for people to bow down before them. We want leaders who will protect us, who will stand with us. We want leaders who are brave and have principles and integrity. So what we would like to see tonight is that we have those leaders before us who see the concerned citizens and move aside the corporate interests and with courage face the danger that these data centers will bring to our community. Vote no to show that you care for us and the city of Yorkville. As public officials, you should be involved in this community. Invite people to come to these meetings. If it wasn't for the concerned residents that might have to stare at these eyesores, we wouldn't be here. Why are you not taking initiatives to have conversations with us? So as a gentle reminder, since this is not a monarchy, you are not in the office permanently. You are in the office because we elect you. This has been read previously, but I will read it again because it seems to be very important. United States of America was founded on principles equality, rights, liberty, opportunity, and democracy. Declaration of Rights, Section 3 states that government is, or ought to be, instituted for the common benefit, protection, and security of the people, nation, or community, of all the various modes and forms of government, that is best which is capable of producing the greatest degree of happiness and safety, and is most effectually secured against the danger of maladministration. And that when any government shall be found inadequate or contrary to these purposes, a majority of the community has an indubitable, inalienable, and indefeasible right to reform, alter, or abolish it, in such manner as shall be judged most conducive to the public weal. We would love to make Yorkville better, so please help us help you. Thank you very much.